The twin moons of Zarathus cast silver shadows across the crystalline river, its waters flowing with an eerie luminescence that had witnessed countless rituals over millennia. Tonight it would witness something different. Cataline's body hit the water with a splash that seemed too small for such a monumental betrayal. Her forearms, once graceful and strong, now hung limp and useless at her sides. The genetic plague had ravaged her nervous system 3 cycles ago, leaving her paralyzed from her primary shoulders down. In the eyes of her people, the Zarathi, she had become Talshara, the broken one, the burden, the mistake that nature should have corrected. Her father's face had been stone as he carried her to the river's edge. Her mother had chanted the old prayers, the ones that spoke of mercy and release. Her siblings had looked away. In Zarathi culture, the paralyzed were not meant to survive. They consumed resources, contributed nothing, and dishonored the family line. The river would take her, as it had taken so many others deemed unworthy of life. As the current pulled her under, Cataline's triple-lidded eyes remained open. She couldn't fight, couldn't swim, couldn't even scream. Her respiratory spiracles began to flood, and the cold water filled her lungs. She thought of the gardens she would never tend again, the starships she would never pilot, the children she would never raise. Then, through the distorted surface above, she saw movement. Neo had been camping on the riverbank, 3 miles downstream from the Zarathi settlement. The human xenobiologist had come to Zarathus on a cultural exchange program, studying the planet's unique ecosystems and trying to build bridges between humanity and the notoriously isolationist Zarathi. He'd been warned to keep his distance, to observe but not interfere, to respect traditions he might not understand. All of that evaporated the moment he saw the body in the water. His scanner had picked up the Zarathi biosignature first: elevated stress hormones, catastrophic oxygen deprivation, neural activity indicating consciousness. Someone was drowning. No, someone was being drowned. Still aware. Still alive. Neo didn't think. Humans, for all their faults, had a tendency to act first and consider consequences later, especially when someone was dying. He dove. The crystalline river was frigid, its mineral-rich waters burning his eyes as he pushed deeper. His diving light cut through the gloom, and there she was, a Zarathi female, her chitinous skin mottled purple and gray, her forearms drifting lifelessly as the current carried her along the bottom. Her eyes found his, and in them, he saw something that transcended species: terror, hope, and the desperate will to survive. Neo grabbed her primary torso and kicked hard for the surface. She was heavier than a human, her exoskeleton dense and rigid, but adrenaline turned him into something more than he was. His lungs screamed. His muscles burned. He didn't care. They broke the surface together, and Neo gasped for air while supporting Cataline's head above water. She was convulsing, her spiracles expelling fluid in violent spasms. He dragged her to shore, his feet finding purchase on the rocky bank, and pulled her fully onto dry land. "Stay with me," he said, knowing she probably couldn't understand English, but needing to say it anyway. "You're going to be okay." He'd trained for xenobiological emergencies, but theory and practice were vastly different. Her respiratory system was nothing like a human's. He positioned her on her side, supporting her multiple limbs, and applied pressure to her lower spiracles in rhythmic compressions. Water gushed from her airways. She coughed, a horrible grinding sound, but she was breathing. That's when Neo heard the voices. A group of Zarathi stood at the top of the embankment, their elongated forms backlit by the moons.
Cataline's family.
Neo didn't need a translator to understand the anger in their chittering speech. He'd just interfered with a sacred ritual. He just violated their most fundamental cultural practice. The largest Zarathi, Cataline's father, descended the slope with measured steps. His head crest was fully extended, a sign of aggression. In his upper right hand, he carried a ceremonial blade. Neo stood, placing himself between the approaching Zarathi and Cataline's prone form. He raised his empty hands in a gesture of peace, but his stance was firm. He would not move. "I know this is your tradition," Neo said slowly, hoping his translator implant was working. "I know you believe this is mercy. But where I come from, we have a saying: every life has value. Every single one. Not because of what they can do, but because of who they are." The father's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter or contempt. "You humans do not understand. She is Talshara. She cannot contribute, cannot fulfill her purpose. We give her to the river so she may return to the cycle. You have stolen her death. Then I'll give her a life." The words hung in the air between them. Behind Neo, Cataline made a sound, half sob, half wheeze. She was conscious now, aware of everything happening around her. Neo continued, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "On Earth, we had people who were paralyzed. We had diseases, accidents, conditions that left people unable to move. And you know what we did? We built machines. We created technology. We adapted the world to fit them, not the other way around. We have neural interfaces, prosthetic systems, mobility aids that let people live full lives. If you won't help her, I will. You would burden yourself with Talshara. I would help another sentient being in need. That's not a burden. That's being civilized." The father's crest lowered slightly. For a long moment he stared at the human who had ruined his family's ritual. Then his gaze shifted to Cataline lying on the stones, her eyes fixed on this strange alien who had defied death itself to pull her from the water. "You know nothing of our ways," the father said finally. "Maybe not," Neo admitted, "but I know drowning when I see it. And I know that no tradition is worth the life of someone who wants to live." The Zarathi family retreated up the embankment, their forms disappearing into the night. Whether it was acceptance, shame, or simply confusion at this human's audacity, Neo didn't know. He turned back to Cataline and knelt beside her. Her triple-lidded eyes met his, and one of her lower hands, the only one with any remaining motor function, twitched toward him. He took it gently. "My name is Neo," he said softly, "and I promise you we're going to figure this out. Together." In the silver moonlight of Zarathus, beside a river that had claimed so many, a human and a Zarathi formed an unlikely bond. It would take months to develop the neural interface that would let Cataline move again. It would take years to change Zarathi cultural attitudes toward the disabled. But it would start here, with one human who refused to look away and one Zarathi who refused to give up. Humanity's greatest strength had never been its technology or its weapons. It was simpler than that and infinitely more powerful. The stubborn, irrational, beautiful refusal to accept that anyone was beyond saving.